What's good, Raptors sickos? This is our second stream in less than an hour. The first one obviously covered who should start for the Toronto Raptors, and this one is going to cover who might start for the Toronto Raptors in a few years because the Toronto Raptors 905 in a classic of the Toronto Raptors championship, a team that eventually produced Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet. We had guys like Bruno Caboclo down there. The 905 has seen better days, certainly over the last few years, but under a new coach, the 905 won their first game and they unfortunately dropped their second game tonight against the College Park SkyHawks. To those who are not familiar with the G League, this is the Atlanta Hawks affiliate. They feature two brothers, actually. Sam Hauser's brothers on the team, and Cason Wallace's brother, Keaton Wallace, is on the team. And if you caught my interview with Eric, uh, Di Carvalho, I'm apologizing on that name, a trainer who trains Jacoby Walter. He's also the trainer who trains Cason Wallace, but also his brother, Keaton Wallace. So super cool. But Keaton Wallace did not play because the Atlanta Hawks are decimated by injuries. So Keaton is currently on assignment, and there's some really interesting players in the G League right now. Uh, Cafe saying, well, technically I am. Technically, you are what? If you did watch this game and you want to call in, this is our only call in show of the day. So whether you want to talk Raptors, you want to talk 905, you can definitely call in. We have often prided ourselves on being the number one Raptors post game show on the internet on YouTube. Well, now we're trying to be the only Raptors 905 post game show. And with so much talent in the 905 right now for the Toronto Raptors, specifically Ulrich Chomche, but also a guy like Brandon Carlson, who had a huge game, but also soon guys like Jamison Battle, possibly Jonathan Mobo, possibly Jacoby Walter, possibly Jamal Shed. There are going to be some really talented kids in the 905 program for the Raptors this year, and watching their early development as they grow is going to be really fun. And of course, there's no prospect that is currently with the 905 or is going to be with the 905 in the near future who has the upside, in my opinion, of an Ulrich Chomche. Obviously, he's very young. I just said it to a colleague of mine a couple of minutes ago that I think Ulrich would probably be a backup in Division One right now. It's really hard. It's really hard to get this excited as I am about a player who is so far away from contributing at an NBA level. But just because his skill level and basketball IQ and all that stuff is super far away right now doesn't mean that he himself is far away because work amplified over time equals success. And this is a kid who is, we're hearing, first guy in the gym. He's super hard worker, always asking questions. You see him with his coach every single time he checks out of the game. He's in his ear, he's asking questions. So I am positive at this point. I would stake my reputation on it that his ascension and his progress is going to come quickly. How far he needs to go, it's pretty much the gap between here and the Pacific Ocean. Okay. He has to go really, really long distance to become a contributor at the NBA level, but he looks bigger. He's 18 years old. He won't turn 19 until the end of this year. So he will continue to be the youngest player in the league until the next draft. And that's pretty exciting too. He's clearly, got a really high motor. He exhibits some very high potential, even in plays where he botches, he misses the block or he misses the dunk. You're like, oh my God, like the potential is so awesome because he's such a fluid mover. His motor is so intense and his physical tools, namely his length and his coordination and his balance and his size, are so unprecedented. Here's a look at what happened. Uh, the Raptors start Charlie Brown Jr. And let me just expand this out so we can see all the stats. Why are we not seeing points? Oy vey. Are we? Come on, 905. Okay. So this blocks against category is really the points category. Quincy Guerrier had 23 points for the Raptors 905, and he had some monster dunks that we're going to take a look at in the film session. Brandon Carlson had a terrible first half. He was out muscled by their center, and he had a huge second half in which he started out 4 for 5 from three, including back-to-back splashes. He had 8 rebounds. He had 1 block and 20 points. And this makes 2 pretty competent performances back to back. I still do think he's getting out muscled for rebounding position. DJ Carton had a huge turnover late. Not the greatest performance from him. I think Kennedy Chandler, his shot selection was just all over the map, but and I think his defense was a little bit compromised. Got lost a lot, but DJ with 17 points, 10 assists, and Kennedy Chandler with 25 points and 4 assists. And off the bench, you had where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Tyreek Key, who played for the Tennessee Volunteers last year and was a sniper. Well, he hit both his threes tonight. He had all three of his field goals. I think he played about 8 to 9 minutes and he had 10 points. He is really like, I'm not sure where his athletic potential is. I'd have to look more into him as a player, but man, this guy is a sniper and he hit the game winner for the Raptors in the game they won. And the Raptors 905 for the game they won in the last game. And tonight he was solid. Miles Burns had 6 points and Ulrich had 2. So he had less points than any player who played. And his only point was on a tip in dunk. And he also blew in tip in layup. It was a tip in. He just tipped the ball and it wasn't a dunk anyways. But and I don't believe he had one block tonight, but I did not catch it. So no, he had no blocks tonight. I apologize. He had no blocks. So yeah, he had 4 rebounds, 2 points, and that's that for them. And from the College Park SkyHawks side, they got a huge game from Jarkel Joyner, including the game-winning 3 and the free throws to ice the game. Uh, the Skyhawks could not miss from 3. They just could not miss. And I'll apologize in advance if I'm a little bit casual about some of these players. I promise I'm going to learn a lot about the 905 players and the G League players. I mean, this is really a goal of mine. Like last year, my goal was to learn about 250 NBA players, like to really get deeper into some of the deeper prospects, some of the deep bench prospects, guys like Leonard Miller, etc., guys like Josh Minot. So having that sort of working knowledge, but now you realize, my God, there's so many talented players in the G League who could easily be pushing for an NBA job soon. So learning a little bit more about these players by watching the 905 games is going to be really interesting. But Jarkel Joyner was on the College Park Skyhawks last year. He's a pretty good defender, and he had 30 points tonight to lead them, and he was awesome. Kevon Harris was also awesome, and Tony Bradley, the center that absolutely abused I mean it, abused. And he's an 8-year pro. Like he's had a lot of professional experience. He had 21 points, 15 rebounds, and 3 blocks, and he was a man among boys. So really, it gives you a nice little appreciation of just how far the gap is in terms of just talent. You want to say like there's talent, there's upside, there's all that stuff, and there's only 450 jobs right in the NBA. That's really what it is. There's 450 jobs in the NBA, and if you're a guy like a Bruno Fernando, you guy like Jeff Doughton, you're just holding on for dear life because these guys in the G League are pushing you constantly. Okay, let's look at some of the highlights of the game. It's more like a film session, but it's not really highlights. But let's take a look here. Greg, thank you so much for the super chat as always. Arham Sajad saying, "Oh man, Raptors are 2-9. Our season is over, right?" Nope, it's not over. It's not over. It was a really tough schedule, and them's the breaks. Hang on one second. Let me make this a little bit more coherent. Okay, so here is Ulrich's first basket. I'm gonna just try to hit mute here and. Okay, so nothing much to see here, but just how fluidly he's able to move, and he's always around the rim, right? So he's really good at tracking the basketball. And unfortunately, when you're going to play in the 905, you're going to play in the G League, there aren't going to be a lot of people that are going to be fighting you. This was just a huge dunk from Quincy Guerrier, and this wasn't even the most impressive dunk that he had on the night, but good pass there to get that tomahawk jam, right? And that was DJ Carton with that boom jam. Nice. Okay, let's take a look here. Now here's a play where Ulrich, he's going to jump on the pump fake, but there's something good to be gleaned out of this. And let me just slow this down and show you what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to slow this down to crawl pace and just take a look at Ulrich the entire time. He is the big guy, number 22. Okay, so here's the defensive play here. He's guarding number 5. He's able to stay on balance again, and he's vertical, right? And that allows 21 to come over and block it from behind, but there's such a rim deterrent, right? He does what you're supposed to do. Maybe you don't want him to jump. Maybe you want him to trust his length. Maybe that's something that his coaches are going to talk to him about. But you love the fact that he's able to, switch his hips that quickly and stay with a guard instead of offering a foul or leaning. And look at the sprint. I mean, everybody else is taking like 14, 18 steps to get up. He's taken like 6, 7 steps. Just the strides and the motor and the speed is just it's so impressive. Every single time he's on the court, you just find yourself dazzled at how he's able to sprint up the court, and you realize that once he figures out the basketball part of it, there isn't a big who can keep up with him, and he's going to put constant pressure, right? And we've already seen some of the short roll passing from him in the G League, so that's not going to go away. That's only going to get better. And again, here we go. Here's like, okay, so he's going to miss this dunk, but I need you to just see how fast he is. And I venture to ask you, other than maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo, have you ever seen a 7-footer do what he's going to do here? Just watch this. Okay, so here he is, and this is the drop coverage we talk about where you got to tag that roller, and he's able to just sort of deter that pass, provide a little bit of resistance on that passing lane. And here comes Dylan Disu, who a lot of people think looks like Ulrich Chomche. And now watch Ulrich just outsprint everybody. Are you seeing him? You're seeing him, right? Look at how fast he is. Those are guards and wings. And he is just able to, now here, he's just a little too far under the basket and he blows the slam, which I'm sure, if you're a basketball novice, you're gonna be like, you're hyping up a guy who just blew an open dunk. He's such an asshole. He's nothing. But just understand just how rare the skill set is and how it can potentially translate forward to playing with better players. Now here, hard to say what they were supposed to do. It's probably likely that Charlie Brown Jr. just goes the wrong way on this one, but big miscommunication leads to an open 3. And yeah, that would not be the last time that he would splash a 3 on the Raptors, unfortunately. All right. Now, a lot of Brandon Carlson stuff we're gonna show here, and this is really a tale of two halves. This is Brandon Carlson just falling down and Brandon's big guy, right? He's 7 feet, 7'1", but he's like about 200 pounds, and he just I swear he spends half the game on the floor, right? He just gets bodied and pushed around, and that's something you notice with him in the summer league, and here just kind of trying to go into the body, but not really having that impact on the defender to kind of shove them out of the way. And he's trying to like sort of finesse this. And Tony Bradley just says, get that shit out of here, man. So this was just a really tough half. And it was really curious to see how he was going to respond to this. Quincy Guerrier with a massive jam here. Of course, those of you who watch the Summer League are familiar with Quincy Guerrier. This was awesome sauce. Just kind of caught the breakdown and no one was going to stop him. And he just put that poster on him. Nice. Okay, now we're going to see some very positive Brandon Carlson possessions. And again, this was his third 3 of the night. He would go on to splash a 4th one on the next possession, but the Raptors 905 were down big, and he was a really, really big part in the second half. Again, if you're not going to get up on him more than this, he's going to hit this. Now, it is worth noting that after he hit 2 straight threes, his next 3-point attempt was actually blocked by Tony Bradley. You don't usually see a 7-footer being blocked on a 3-point attempt unless the shot blocker is Victor Wembanyama. So it begs the question, does his shot need to be a little bit faster? Do his mechanics need to be a little bit faster? But that's not usually a concern you have with 7-footers, right? Because typically they're going to be pretty wide open. Now, again, I don't know if this clip captures just how close he was to blocking the shot, but look at how he's able to catch up to the play. His strides and his ability to run the floor it takes whatever Chris Boucher does and it puts it on steroids, right? He is just insane. And this is Ulrich with Raptors 905 coach Drew Jones, who himself was, I believe he played for the Texas Longhorns, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me. He's about 6'10. So Ulrich is about like 7 feet right now, pretty easily, like 6'11, 7 feet. And this is just a conversation they're having. Ulrich seemed a little bit down. He had a really, really brief stint in the third quarter, and I think it was like 72 seconds and he was out. So, you know, kind of a hey, your time will come type of pep talk, right? That you have to have with a young player, but you love to see it. And you kind of, I don't know how much it impacts, but I've always felt like big men and big men coaches, it goes well. Like we've seen guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, et cetera, working with big men as big men coaches, Jabal McGlure, et cetera. So the theory is that being a big in the NBA is like different. And Ulrich is by far your biggest prospect of consequence in your 905 program. So in my opinion, like it probably helps to have a big who played Division 1 basketball to kind of coach him through. Now here's Brandon Carlson responding. Now this is a nice block. And again, the Raptors 905 came back into this game largely because of Brandon Carlson just playing way better in the second half. He was really, it's just like almost like someone had a talk with him at the halftime and was just like, he came out a different player. Now, look at this. I mean,
And
my
goes
God,
in for the
right? Like this
jam.
is very Andrea Bargnani-like. If you remember the Andrea Bargnani clip in New York, where Andrea just goes up for the dunk and then ends up on the ground, but it's very similar. It's almost identical. So, you know, I realize Andrea was a hell of a lot more talented than this, but I mean, if you freeze that, I mean, shit, I actually want to slow this down. Hang on. I know he misses this dunk, but I really admired the attempt. Look at this. Nice little pump fake. And obviously, if defenders are going to run you off the line after you've hit 4 threes, you're going to have opportunities like this. But you just love that, he was trying this. Like he was just going to try this. And you do like that. But unfortunately, gets undercut. And I believe he went to the line after that. Okay. And this is Tyreek Key again, as I mentioned earlier.
5-point.
And he's the same guy who hit the three in their first game. And here the Raptors 905 are 110, 115. And there he is again, giving you a little preview of, I don't know, a little poor man's Isaiah Joe. I'm not sure. And this is the play that sunk them. This is 115, 115, and DJ Carton with a huge turnover to end this game out. And unfortunately, then it would just be curtains for them. And you can't make that play. You can't have that. And he tries to make that pass to Charlie Brown. I mean, let's slow that down and just see like how at fault he was really on that play. I'm curious myself. Let's see here. So here we go. Nice defensive play, right, from Key. And here's DJ Carton being a little loose with the basketball. 34 kind of reaches into that. Maybe he got away with a foul. Is it possible he got away with a foul? Let's check that out. Man, this is some sicko dedication here. Okay, we're freeze framing 905 results so that we have kind of gets him on the wrist. It's hard to see from that angle. I feel like I'm the replay center right now. Was that a foul? Was it a foul? Oy. Okay. Nevertheless, it ends up being a turnover. And the Raptors 905 go on to lose this game on a really huge three. I'm not sure if I captured the three. Did I capture the three? Yes, I did. Jarkel Joyner with a huge three. Now, let's just take a look at what went wrong here because I believe there was a miscommunication. There's no chance in hell that a guy who had 25 points at that point should have been this wide open. But let's just take a look at how the Raptors 905 managed to screw this up. Okay. So that's Tony Bradley setting the screen on Key. Slow this down even more. Maybe if you're Brandon Carlson, you can't just be in no man's land right now. Again, you don't know what their coach is telling them. You don't know what the coverage is supposed to be in that case, but I'm finding it hard to believe that the goal of this defensive possession was to have one player guard two people, and it's a kind of breakdown you just can't have late in the game. But this is why you have coaches. This is why you have film sessions. This is why you have young players so they can get better and learn. Johnny A saying Chomche gives me a little Ron Artest vibe size for some reason. I don't know. Uh, Sorry, what is going on here? Bert with the super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Daryl saying Ulrich is built for creating mismatches. If he can learn to hunt them, he has an NBA future. Absolutely. Gregory saying, remember, friends, YouTube takes a good chunk of a super chat. For larger donations, consider an e-transfer. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah. Mind you, hands I feed you. That's exactly it, right? Super chats are, they're an interesting, I mean, they have been a huge source of income for our channel, of course, but e-transfers have also been enormous. I think our e-transfer rate has pretty much matched our super chat rate for the last 3 months. So I'm actually really glad that I opened up this concept of e-transfers. And yes, I do just shout people out. I am considering a different way of doing it. People also did Amazon gift cards at one point. That was also really cool and very helpful. Okay, so overall, Ulrich, the 905 program. Okay. Robert Turok saying, I don't have much money, but after I pay off rent and get my check, I will donate $500 for sure. Oh wow. That's huge. I bet you won't stop being a drama queen. Bro, if he donates $500, he can be a drama queen. He has my blessing. Okay. Speaking specifically about the 905 and their future, because I do think that it is important to just, keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing here is clearly Ulrich. Ulrich is a really long-term prospect. And I understand that there's a lot of hype around him because we did a lot of videos about him. There's a lot of talk about him at the draft. There's like, oh my God, he could become the next Giannis. And there were a lot of Raptor channels declaring him the next Giannis. And of course, I mentioned when he was drafted on my draft night reaction, he's really raw. It's really difficult to see the vision with him, right? So you have to base all of your assumptions on history and physics. So good for you that I went to school and actually paid attention. Look, it's just that simple, man. It's history and physics. That's what it is. Okay, the history is that you typically don't like to bet against players who have big dreams at this age, who have clear goals, who have high motor, who are very intelligent. Because I can tell you from just learning a lot about him over the last few months, especially from Joe Tomu, but also from other sources, that he's a really, really smart kid. Like he's a problem solver. You know what I mean? Like he's extremely hard on himself. He's extremely serious about this. Like he's not joking at all. He's extremely naive too. It's almost like he has the emotional maturity of like a 15-year-old, but also like the mental capacity of like a 25-year-old. It's a very strange equation, right? So there's a little bit of stunting, right? Probably from his family. And there's a lot of naivety, and he's not jaded by any means. He's just very wide eyed and extremely optimistic about everything. And so, everything, I don't, I don't know who does he remind me of? There's like a character that he reminds me of. I know who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Darius from Cool Runnings. Do you know Darius from Cool Runnings? Give me a W if you remember the movie Cool Runnings. He reminds me of that character. Again, Darius is Jamaican. Ulrich is, from Cameroon. This has nothing to do with, ethnicity, culture, or anything like that. Just that sort of like hardworking, extremely optimistic, extremely naive, but very serious minded person who will do anything to achieve their goals, right? Including, you know, hoodwinking someone to donate to the Jamaican bobsled team. I don't know. The potential is there. The short roll passing is there. The 3-point shooting is there. He hasn't attempted a single three in the 905 yet. And I think when he does take a jump, it's going to be such an obvious and such a glaring jump, right? Like you're not going to be able to believe your eyes when you see it. Like there's going to be a jump from him in 3 months where suddenly all those blocks that he's not quite getting, he's going to get to them because he's going to be able to time out the game a little bit better. He's going to map out the pump fakes a little bit better. From what I understand, he's also like really, really obsessed with asking a lot of questions and probably doing a lot of film study himself. And so he's going to be able to learn from his mistakes. He's going to see, like, oh, shoot, I ran a little bit too far and I didn't wait enough. And this is a constant issue with him, right? He outpaces. And it's ironic because today it resulted in a blown dunk, but he will often like outpace the offense because he's so fast that he'll end up underneath the basket before you're ready to throw him the pass. And by which point the pass is gone, right? So he needs to watch someone like a Scotty Barnes or an Ochai Abaji do this or an RJ Barrett do this to get some feel of like, oh, sometimes I need to slow down and then I can speed up. What's interesting though is everything is all gas, no brakes with him right now. And the question then you have is which big is stopping him? There's not a big in the league who's as fast as him. I'm just gonna put that on record. There's nobody in the league that can out sprint this guy. No big in this league can out sprint this guy. I would put money on it that he would win in a foot race with every single big, especially because he never stops sprinting. So, that energy, that motor, the athleticism, all of it. What I love about him defensively is Sparkling saying, do you think he's faster than young Siakam? Absolutely. Absolutely. Alex saying Koloko. Sure. And they're all fast. They're all fast, but he's faster. Like he has and here's something that a lot of people just don't seem to register. Athleticism doesn't stop. Athleticism does not stop at the age of like 18, 19. You're not at your athletic peak until you're like 23. What this guy could be at 23, it is honestly like I don't even know, right? But the Raptors clearly have a big vision for him. I hope they have as big a vision for him as he has for himself, because that could be really amazing. He clearly is someone who takes guidance and feedback very well. You're already seeing him clean up a lot of the fouling that he was doing in the summer league. And again, it's very tip of the iceberg stuff, right? Like you maybe don't see it all materializing. It's all slow, 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 right? But you watch a player like this and you see how under coached and underdeveloped he's been, but how skilled he is regardless, right? And he really is the epitome of what Masai Ujiri is describing when he says there's a Giannis walking around on every, corner of Africa. We just need to find them. This is your Giannis. This is 100% like athletically. This is your Giannis walking around. You know what I mean? He's got the coordination. He can handle the basketball. He can do so many things. It's just so interesting to watch some of his youth competition. And if you just isolated the 10 best plays, you'd swear you were looking at Giannis. And then if you look at the 10 worst plays, you'd swear this is like the worst player you've ever seen. So it's just about limiting that. Daryl saying, if you had to pick 3 players and force Ulrich to watch 100 hours of tape on each of them, who would you pick? That's a great question. That's a great question. Yeah. Okay, let's see. 3 players. 3 players that I would want him to watch a ton of tape of. Let's see. Rasheed Wallace would be one. I think he has a bit of a jumper, and maybe, there's something there. Young Sheed was like just an incredible, incredible athlete. That's one. Chris Webber would be 2. And 100 hours. It's way, way too obvious to just say Hakeem Olajuwon. I'm not going to say Hakeem Olajuwon because I don't really care for him to be that way. Giannis is all like athleticism, brute force. It's not necessarily replicable, but you think like more in terms of the skill stuff. Who would I want him? Kevin Garnett. So you get Kevin Garnett. You know, you got three of the best power forwards of all time, right? Kevin Garnett, Chris Webber, and Rasheed Wallace. Watch everything you can from those guys. KG when he was young, maybe a little bit of Jermaine O'Neal as well. I know he said three players, but there's a fourth one right there as well. Maybe some Chris Bosh, you know, in Miami. There's a fifth one, right? Just watching how Bosch's technique defensively, you know, some of that stuff. So I think those would all be really helpful for him. You know, his jumper actually reminds me a little bit of Chris Bosh. That's the kind of weird thing. Saying I love the KG pick. Absolutely. Anyways, regardless of when we have done a live, whether it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., we've never had a live with like 77 people. Un- Unless you count the live that we did where we had, I want to say the live, there was a live that we did at like 4 a.m. one day, and there were like 45 people in that live. And I remember that very distinctly because I was like, damn, that's not a lot of people. So I understand that a lot of people are not like obsessively going to be watching the 905. I get it. This is a Raptors channel. You're here to learn about the Raptors. We're here to cover the Raptors. But these are Raptors, right? We don't know. We don't know if Tyree Key is going to become a Raptors, you know, next Isaiah Joe. We don't know if Quincy Guerrier is going to be a two-way guy next year. We don't know if Ulrich is going to be the starting center in a couple of years. And at that point, personally, you know, I've always believed something as a content creator, make content that you find valuable, right? Don't try to clickbait and stuff like that. There's a lot of videos out there. Some videos, hold on one sec. There's a lot of videos out there which to me feel very clickbaity, where it's like this is the most insane thing that's ever happened, and then it's not that insane at all. It's just an Emmanuel quickly injury, or this is the worst thing to ever happen, and it's just like they waved a 905 guy, and it's just like my God, like I fucking hate this. I hate this kind of content, right? So, you know, I'm gonna give a shout out to a person that I've had a very adversarial relationship with, but I'm gonna give him a shout out anyways because I do believe in bygones be bygones. But yesterday I was watching Sam Vecini's Game Theory podcast and I was just curious about it. And so I watched a little bit of it and I loved how he diagrammed all the games, right? He was talking about plays, he was breaking down the plays. That podcast does not have a lot of views. Sam Vecini is very famous from the athletic to the NBA circles, etc. But his podcast is just not very famous, partially because I don't find him to be very likable. So here I am giving him compliments on his podcast, but also telling you that I don't find him that likable. He's not that likable. He's not thoroughly engaging, but what he's doing is incredibly valuable. You also look at a guy like Jason Timpf. You also look at a guy like Unk over Athletic Academy, Athletic Alchemy, and you know, there's all these content creators that are really doing deep basketball analysis, and I'm like, man, I love that. And those are the people that, I mean, Sam Vecini not included. Those are the people that I kind of looked up to a bit. So I want to get a lot more detailed with these 905 film breakdowns and talking about the 905 and stuff. I want to educate myself and hopefully, you know, even if like we'll never have 400 and 500 people in a live covering the 905, maybe at some point we'll have two, 300. I don't know. Right. Rusty Nail saying hit that like button. Absolutely. Thank you very much, as always. And yeah, we will have you covered tomorrow. The Raptors versus the Bucks, the 2-8 Bucks versus the 2-9 Raptors. It's the battle for the bottom of the East. If the Raptors win, oh my God, the Bucks are the sole position of the 15th overall. You know, it's interesting. The New Orleans Pelicans, I believe, I think they have the Bucks pick top 5 protected this year, and they have their own pick. So that's very interesting for the Bucks. They need to get out of this predicament really fast because if they end up with a top 3, top 4 pick, they're not going to be able to keep it, which really sucks. John John Hamilton saying Vicini comes across as a know-it-all. I like the no ceilings guy for draft coverage. Yeah. So I mean, as someone who has also come across as a know-it-all to a lot of people, I understand kind of where he's coming from as well. He's like, I think I made a comment once in his, I don't know, I think I like said something about him on the stream and then he commented on this and saying like, this is so disappointing. And I just found that very weird. But overall, like, you know, he's someone who does his work and, you know, you got to respect that, right? Jack saying quickly is questionable for tomorrow's game. Yeah, he injured himself in the last game. You could see him holding his elbow or, I think his wrist or his elbow. I was hoping it wasn't his wrist because his wrist has been bothering him, but I think it was his elbow. So it's been wrist, back, elbow. Damn. Not so great. And he has not played well so far. So expect to hear a lot of chirping around Raptorland about like, oh my God, Emmanuel Quickley's overpaid. And then Emmanuel Quickley's going to come out probably in a couple weeks, splash 40 points, and then it will all be forgotten. So yeah. Arham saying Bucks are without Dame. If that is true, that probably doesn't exactly hurt the Bucks. I'm just going to be honest about that. Like Damian Lillard has been asked. I watched their game yesterday and he was terrible. Terrible. So, I mean, sure, with our luck, this is going to be the Dame splashes, 50 points, but nevertheless, I think I like our odds with Ochai Baji, Grady Dick, if Emmanuel Quigley's out, Davion Mitchell, that's pretty good defensively. It's going to be tough to stop Giannis and Burke, but we'll see. And of course, you have the better coach because Doc Rivers is terrible. And Daryl saying the Bucks can't guard a fence post. That's true, but they're going up against the 30th ranked defense in the league. Right? If I'm not mistaken, the Raptors are still the 30th ranked defense and the worst team in the league right now, per the record. So I'm sure they're not sweating bullets at all. Trent revenge game. Trent didn't play yesterday. Am I wrong? I don't think he played yesterday. I don't see him play yesterday. So he might be out. I have no idea. But if it is his revenge game, certainly, I don't know why he's seeking revenge, because if rumors are to be believed, we tried to pay Gary Trent $15 million and he decided to take a minimum contract to go bet on himself in Milwaukee, which I don't understand that at all. He can splash. Arham saying Portis has also been trash. There's levels to trash. Yes. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Hopefully this live was somewhat informative. I'm going to get better at covering Raptors 905. I'm talking about a lot of players here, like Quincy Guerrier. I don't have a lot of knowledge about these guys, so I want to look them up, because a lot of these guys in the G League, unless they are like the Patrick McCaws of the world, right? Or the Keaton Wallaces, where I'm deeply aware of their biography. A lot of these guys are just guys that I'm hearing about for the first time in 4 years. And I'm just having to brush up. I'm like, wait, what college that guy play for? But it is worth noting that the Toronto Raptors 905 team has a big Dylan Disu who shot crazy percentages in college from three. I think he was a close to 50% three-point shooter. No, he was north of 40% last year in college. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's him. And it's really weird when you watch his three-point shot. You're like, that doesn't look like a guy who should be shooting 40%. So maybe I have to go back and study the tape on him and see how he got it off. Maybe he was open all the time. I have no idea. Anyways, it doesn't feel like the form has the future trajectory, kind of like he's shooting it forward. And ironically, someone in the chat kept mentioning that Dylan Disu and Ulrich Chomche kind of from a distance especially looked the same. And Lord, there was one time when Dylan Disu took a shot and I was just like, what the fuck happened to Ulrich's form? And I just had to look closely. I'm like, oh, that's not Ulrich. I do want to say one thing. If you did watch the 905, oh my God, this broadcast was the worst executed broadcast in the history of sports broadcasting. It was so bad. It was so flagrantly stupid. They consistently ran replays over when the Raptors were playing on offense. So the SkyHawks would go and play offense, and then the Raptors would get the rebound, and then they would run a fucking, splash and a splash finish, and then an entire replay over the Raptors possession. And then when they get back to the game, you would see the ball going up and you have no idea who took it. And they're not even talking about the Raptors at all. It was so flagrant. And unfortunately, with the 905 and G League in general, it's such an underfunded entity within the NBA ranks. There's just not a lot of money in it. There's not a lot of money coming from it either. It was hilarious to listen to the commentators talking about what a lively atmosphere they've created in College Park. And you're looking at the stands and they're fucking empty. There might have been 800 people in the building max. It's rows, swats of rows of people just empty, and the camera angles were totally shit. And I gotta say this as a cinematographer, the light, the exposure level of the camera was absolutely ass. Some of those highlights that I showed you off of Twitter actually fixed the color on those. I had to brighten it up by like close to 100% just so that the it was such a terrible thing. It's so weird because if you're thinking about the NBA, I understand like, too many boats, right? You're trying to create an audience for your main product. Your main product consumes a lot of time. You're not trying to divert focus away from it. But man, there's a lot of people that would love to go to a $7 game, a $10 game, and go check out the G League, especially some of these young players. It's just they don't talk about it enough. They broadcast it in the stupidest ways. And yeah, you just don't get too many chances with people. I've always believed like people don't give you 15 chances, they usually give you two. If you're lucky, they'll give you two. So watching these broadcasts on YouTube, it's been convenient because you can clip things very easily and you can talk about it on a post game show like this. I wish the Raptors played on YouTube. That'd be super simple. So instead of like having to, I don't know if y'all have realized this, but like when I'm doing the Raptors post games, our TV is cool. Like it's a good TV. So I'm able to just hold my phone up and then I'm able to slow everything down. Do you know what I mean? Like my phone has an editing app built into it, so I'm able to screenshot it. Not screenshot it. I'm basically screen capturing. I'm doing like I'm basically running a post game breakdown show in the most ghetto way humanly possible. And I don't know if you guys have caught on to it, but what's cool about it is it allows me to slow down the part that I actually want, and then it also builds up the audience on X. So if you're not watching the game and you're at a party or something and you're like, man, what's going on in the game? You can just check out Pensari Basketball, Pensari B-Ball on X, and you'll see like all the relevant highlights and my little commentary behind it. So it seems like a really smart synergistic way to blend X plus YouTube and make the film analysis really easy. But of course, it would be super easy if the Raptors just played on YouTube. Anyways, Rusty now saying the level of disrespect to G League camera quality and just if it ain't NBA, it's trash. I don't really understand the comment necessarily, but I get the gist of what you're saying. Yes, it was an embarrassing broadcast. 2 Chainz, be better, man. 2 Chainz owns or is partial owner of the College Park SkyHawks. So they're playing his music in arena, which was really funny, I guess. Cool. But man, invest in a better camera person. Shit, fly me down. I'll do it. I'm good at that. Not don't look at what I'm doing here, but like look at my work. I'm good at it. But like the exposure level being off for a broadcast for the G League is insane. Like, and it's not just it's not like it was a little bit off. Like it's almost like they shot it flat, and it's just like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to color grade the film as I'm watching it? Like, what the hell is going on here? So, it was terrible. The broadcast was not great. It wasn't very informative. It thankfully wasn't super biased. That was pretty cool. They talked some nice things about the Raptors players as well, but it is unfortunate because only the home team gets to host the broadcast, so there isn't like a Raptors 905 broadcast team. You know what I mean? The Raptors 905 broadcast is only when the Raptors play here, and the Raptors 905 will not be playing in Toronto for a while or in Ontario for a while. So that's interesting. Manish saying, I think after watching Rob's live, I finally graduated from just focusing on who scored to noticing good, bad passes when watching live. Yes. Okay, Manish, you have officially made my day. This is all I've ever wanted. And I'm very, very happy to hear that. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great one. And thank you, Gregory. And also thank you, Bert. And thank you to all of you for chilling out with me and talking about the NBA G League. That was cool. Talk to you guys later. Bye.